Giving your child a cell phone is child abuse, because what you're doing is, if you give the child a cell phone, you're essentially taking an innocent child and putting that child into a demonic realm. The child is not equipped to deal with this new reality, okay? The internet is a trauma-based mind control system. That's basically what it is. It's called the World Wide Web. Do you want your child to be trapped in a web? And then we have the internet, the net, like the spider's net, the spider's web. They want to trap you in their mind control web. And they want to trap you in their net like a spider, you know? So, essentially, what you're doing is completely traumatizing the child. It's like the child is visiting hell. Why would you put your child in hell? The child should be in the most, the best possible environment they could be in. You know, they're not equipped to deal with the dangers of the internet, and nor should they be or have to be. So, if you give your child a cell phone, DCF should come and take your child away from you. That's how dangerous the internet is. Because if you think of the internet, the majority of the people on there are sick, creepazoid predators. So why would you put your child in an environment to which they could be traumatized, cyberbullied, exposed to violence and sexual things they should not be exposed to? That's abuse. That is abuse, because let's say you're verbally abusive to your child, or you're physically abusive to your child. Well, DCF would come and take your child, I believe. So what is the difference of giving your child a cell phone? You're mentally traumatizing them, and you're physically assaulting their body with radiation that they are not equipped, nor is anyone, even an adult, equipped to deal with. However, children are much more susceptible to radiation than adults are. That's why what is going on right now is so disturbing. They have thinner skulls and bones that aren't fully formulated yet. They're much more susceptible to this onslaught of radiation. So if you have them with an iPad, a Kindle, a cell phone, a this, a that device, no, you cannot give them these devices. They should be totally outlawed for children. In fact, they should be outlawed for everyone, in my opinion. So, basically, you're sending your child to hell in a handbasket by giving them one of these devices. I realize people may think that's extreme. No, it's not extreme for the times we're living in, and the fact that the internet has gotten more and more and more just negative, and the content sort of like just went way south, like went way downhill. It was kind of innocent in the beginning. It really wasn't that negative, but it took a turn left somewhere and got lost and just totally went off the deep end into total demon-infested territories, and it's just not safe for children. It's not safe. It's not good really for anyone. It's damaging to everyone's brain. I believe it actually, I think it shrinks your brain. I mean, I'm not a doctor, or, well, not that I would want to be a doctor. Out here killing and poisoning people, that's another story. But I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I have no way to test this theory that I have, but I really think it shrinks your brain. Because if you think of when you have a trauma, it's a bit like having a plane crash into your brain. Like you just took a huge collision hit to your brain and you're shell shocked and you need to repair this. So why would you put a child whose the brain isn't even formed yet into some type of trauma-based matrix? And you're wondering why all these children are committing suicide. I really would be interested to hear a figure of how many children have committed suicide since the inception of the internet. I thought I heard someone say like 100,000 people have already killed themselves. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's accurate. But I'm sure it's a pretty high number. I know the depression rates are through the roof. The anxiety rates are through the roof. The suicide rates are through the roof. Is anyone going to be held accountable or responsible for all these people taking their own lives? No one cares. They want to reduce the population, so they love devices that make you sick, cause your health to decline, whether it be mentally, physically. As we can see, any device that they can use for mind control. They love mind control. Psychopaths are obsessed with mind control. So, you want to put an innocent child into this kind of toxicity and expect that they're going to be able to somehow be able to handle this when it's a lot for adults to deal with? Especially all the negative things that are going on right now. They should not be anywhere near. They should be being shielded from certain information. In fact, they should be shielded from anything on the internet. They should not be on there, period. So it's a complete danger. Your child is their health, their mental health, their physical health is in danger. And it's funny because you hear of the powers that be are interested in this transhuman agenda and everything. Well, essentially, what you're doing by giving your child one of these electronic devices is you've already turned them into half robot. They're already half robot. Okay, so you've created a monster, basically, by giving them this device, because it's almost like they're like half reprobate or half lizard, because you've already merged them with machine. That's what the whole transhuman thing is about, merging humans with machines. Well, that's already happened. Now they're taking it up a notch with the metals that they're dropping out from the planes and the frequencies, which doesn't even really need to be done, because the kids are all half robot already. They have no empathy. They're completely apathetic. They're already completely damaged already. So all the metals and the frequencies is now just adding more fuel to the fire. The fire is already burning. Okay, these kids are already half lizard. If you go around town and you realize why people are being rude to you, just say this to yourself and it'll all make sense. Just say, well, they're not human. Just tell yourself they're not human, and then it'll all make sense. Their consciousness is being destroyed via the cell phones. These electronic devices do not allow you to have a consciousness. They are consciousness destroyers, actually. So, since I'm a little older than most people, well, I don't know how many people, but I'm a little older than, the millennials, etc. So, basically what I'm trying to say is that they did not. I grew up without cell phones, so my consciousness and my imagination and all of that was already established. Now think back and think to yourself of when you were a child. If you grew up without cell phones, you felt carefree, your mind was clear, you had an imagination, you would wonder about things. You had to sit there and imagine, oh, what is the universe like? Oh, what are those bright lights up in the sky? You had no one really telling you. You had books and magazines, and you could go to the library, but you couldn't. You had to sit there and ponder it yourself. You had to wonder. You had to imagine, oh, I wonder what's going on in this big world. You were able to develop your imagination. Well, now think of the children of today. Think about what their minds are being filled with. It's nothing but, if you think of these Xbox games and video games and stuff, it's all, trauma-based violence. The internet is all overtly sexual stuff or violence or just totally inappropriate stuff that children should not be anywhere near. They should have their innocence. So they never had a period to which they could be innocent and develop an imagination. Instead, if you think of your mind and you think of your skull, let's say you're able to open up your skull and you see all this free, clear space for wonder and imagination. Well, imagine if you took those trucks that come and empty out the dumpsters, and they have like two prongs, and they put it in the dumpster and like flip it over into their truck and take the garbage away. Well, basically, by going on the internet, you took that dumpster and you dumped it into your mind. It's just like total clutter, like sick, twisted, trauma-based clutter is now filled in that clear, beautiful imagination, empty, wondrous space to where you could dream and wonder and imagine. And you've taken a dumpster full of trash, aka the internet, you poured it into your child's mind, and now they have to figure out and sort through this disastrous mess and figure out what this means. They're being traumatized. Okay, they're being traumatized. That's why the suicide rates are through the roof. They cannot handle, nor are they equipped to handle this kind of trauma. So if anything happens to your child and you gave them one of these devices, then you only have yourself to blame for what happened to your child, because you're supposed to be protecting the child, aren't you? Yeah, you are. So, it's one thing if you did it before we knew. A lot of us didn't kind of know about the dangers of the internet. I didn't know at first. I certainly know now because I met the narcissists on the internet. So now you see why, I'm well aware of the dangers, but I wasn't aware either. So, it's one thing if you just totally had no idea and you give your child the cell phone and you don't understand radiation. Most of us had no clue. That's a totally different story. I would have done the same thing. I probably would have gave the child a cell phone. I don't know, but it's one thing to not know. It's another thing when you do know and you still do it. So you've been warned. You should not have these devices anywhere near your child, because if you like I said, if you verbally abuse your child or physically abuse your child, DCF is going to come and take your child. And that's what you're doing by giving your child a cell phone. So here, I just want to show you a little video. This is from the same guy from the other day. I just want to show you the radiation of a cell phone, so you'll know what I mean when I say you're physically assaulting your child. If you notice here, it says biological effects start at 3.4, which is over here. I don't know exactly what that stands for. Average power density. So 3.4 is between here and here, 1 and 5. That's where the negative effects start. And this is where the cell phone reads. Would you take a look at this reading and take a look if you want this near your child? A little developing, people put these near babies. Do you understand that radiation damages your cells and your DNA? And if you put this near a child, their cells are not even formed. Everything's, developing. So take a look.
Hello friends, Neil here, EMF Safety Zone channel. I'm going to give you one of the hottest tips that I could possibly offer to you about how to use a cell phone more safely. I don't even really like to talk about how to use a cell phone more safely because it seems like an oxymoron. However, since the global addiction to cellular phone use is not going to quit anytime soon, might as well talk about how to use a cell phone more safely. So what you see here on the right is a microwave meter, and intermittently it's getting pulses of microwave radiation coming off the cellular phone. As you can see, the peak signal strength is hitting the very capacity of the meter. The average power density on the right side is way above where biological effects are said to start at 3.4 to 6 microwatts per square meter. So this is how most people carry their cell phones, with the cellular data activated, the Bluetooth activated, and the Wi-Fi activated. If you go into the settings menu and you notice that airplane mode is not activated here, we're not using airplane mode because in airplane mode you can't receive or make calls. But if you use this tip, you can still make and receive calls, and you can still send and receive texts. So we go into Wi-Fi.
Okay, so let me bring this back up. He's basically just showing you some tips. If you want the rest of the tips, I'll put the link in the description box. He's just saying to keep it on airplane mode. But again, that's for adults. You can't give it to the child and they're going to be using data and internet. They have to would take it off airplane mode. And then they would be getting damaged. That's my whole point. So anyway, my point is this. You saw that radiation reading, how high it was. You can't put that near a baby. Okay, you cannot. There's really no safe way to use these things. Okay, they shouldn't be near your head. They shouldn't be near your heart. They shouldn't be near anywhere on your body. Most people keep them in their bags, which is it's still irradiating you. It's still pretty close to your body. For adults, put it on airplane mode every time you're not using it. But eventually, it would be good Because if you have a 2-hour phone call and you have that thing near your head, and you continuously keep doing that, you can get a brain tumor. So that's how high the radiation reading is on the phone. But anyway, I just wanted to just point out that giving your child a cell phone is child abuse, and DCF should come and take your child if you do that.